What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about the stock attachment in Black Ops 4 multiplayer. This is something that I've been seeing pop up more and more within the community. I've had a lot of people tweeting me about this. It's been popping up on Reddit and in my comment section. And a lot of people are claiming that the stock attachment is simply broken in this game. It is way too overpowered. People are moving side to side when they strafe in a gunfight way too fast to be able to hit them, and it's causing a lot of issues. So today we're going to have a look at the stock attachment in this game compared to previous Call of Duty games, talk about it a little bit, and then towards the end I wanted to share my opinion on this topic. So first up, let's simply look at what this strafing looks like when you're using the stock attachment on the SOG 9mm, for instance. In this clip here, I've got stock 1 as well as stock 2, which gives us a roughly 92.5% movement speed while aimed down sight. And when we're just doing this little wiggle strafe here, where we're barely even moving, at least from our perspective, side to side, it is just a little bit of a wiggle. This is what it looks like in third person. You can see it's definitely an unrealistic sort of movement. It's almost like I'm kind of teleporting back and forth. Like, it's just a really strange looking movement when it comes to the character model. And this definitely has a big impact on gunfights. Even though it might look like such a minor amount of strafe for you in first person, in third person, it makes you a very hard target to hit. And a big reason for this on console, at least, is aim assist. When it comes to your aim assist rotation and slowdown, there's kind of like a little bubble around the enemy character model where your aim assist will engage. Once you're already within that bubble, aim assist really isn't helping you all that much. It's mainly up to you at that point. It helps you get on target, and if the enemy's moving quite a bit, it will help you stay on target a little bit. But if they're just doing that side-to-side wiggle, your aim isn't exiting that sort of bubble of aim assist, and therefore it doesn't really help you track them as they wiggle side to side. Combine that with the fact that this is a very unrealistic movement and they're just moving so fast side to side, that can make it quite difficult to get the kill on an enemy player. And this is one of the reasons that strafing in gunfights is such an effective tactic. It makes you a much harder target to hit than you might think just looking at it in your first-person view. And in addition to that, if you guys remember from the aim assist videos that we've been doing over the years, your aim assist rotation does not engage unless your feet are moving, and that's the second reason that strafing is really effective in gunfights. It allows you to engage that aim assist rotation, not just the slowdown. And therefore, you always want to be strafing in a gunfight. No matter what, you always want to make sure that you're strafing in some way, even if you're not using the stock attachment. Now, the interesting thing about this, though, is we've been seeing a lot of complaints pop up within Black Ops 4, so I decided to go back and look at some of the older Call of Duty games. And in those older Call of Duty games, we have at least similar, and in many cases, faster aimed-down sight strafe potential when you're using the equivalent sort of attachment or perk. So like Stalker, for instance, from Modern Warfare 3, that would help with your aimed-down sight strafe speed, or Stock in Black Ops 3, or whichever game. You take your pick of Call of Duty games within the past, I don't know, 6 or 7 years, and you will see very similar values, and you'll actually see a very similar story here. If we look at Black Ops 3, for instance, this is what the wiggle strafe looks like in that game, and you can see here, he's actually moving a little bit faster, and it makes him even harder to hit. So seeing that it's very similar, and in many cases even faster in previous Call of Duty games, that raises the question, why does it feel so bad in Black Ops 4, and why do we see more and more complaints in Black Ops 4 than we would normally see when it comes to this sort of a topic? Personally, I think this comes down to a wide variety of factors. First off, it does appear that the character model itself behaves a little bit different than in previous years. If we compare that clip with Black Ops 3 versus Black Ops 4, in Black Ops 4, you can see that the player model is turning their torso a lot more, and there's a lot more movement going on within the character model itself. In Black Ops 3, it actually looks really strange, like their upper body doesn't rotate or anything, it just simply moves side to side. As a result, possibly hitboxes are doing some kind of a weird thing in Black Ops 4 where they're rotating out of the way or something when you feel they shouldn't be. But that one, admittedly, is very hard to prove just with hand testing, and therefore it is a little bit of speculation. Could be wrong on that one. But the next big reason is the slower time to kill. In Black Ops 4, you generally have to hit 1 to 2 extra shots depending on the range of your gunfight and the weapon that you're using. And hitting 1 to 2 extra bullets on a person that's already really hard to hit is going to be a lot more pronounced than in previous games where the gunfight would be over a lot faster. I think this is definitely the biggest reason we're seeing more complaints this year compared to previous years, but I do think there might be a couple other factors. The next one is the fact that guns in this game are no longer Hitscan. So in Black Ops 4, the bullet has to actually travel to the target, and while this still is extremely fast, and it really is hard to detect for the average player out there, especially at close ranges, many times at mid to somewhat longer ranges with SMGs, for instance, your bullet will end up landing a frame or two slower than it would have if it were Hitscan. A frame or two might not seem like a lot, but when you consider just how fast that character model is darting back and forth, a frame or two can absolutely make a big difference in a gunfight. Having said that, I don't think this will affect most of the gunfights you find yourself in those really close to mid-range situations, but it definitely could be affecting some of your gunfights against people that are strafing really fast. And this leaves us with the last potential reason that I think that strafing is a bigger complaint this year compared to previous years in Call of Duty. And that is, quite simply, I feel the player base is getting better and better as well as smarter over time. People are becoming more and more aware of the strategies and tactics that are effective at winning gunfights. When I think back to Modern Warfare 3, for instance, I don't remember Stalker being a super popular choice among the average player. Yes, some of the pub stompers out there, they'd be using Stalker like all the time because they understood the power of strafing in a gunfight. But even for myself, I played Call of Duty a lot back in those days. I don't think I used Stalker all that much aside from when I got my Specialist bonus. And I think the majority of the player base was in the same boat. They didn't really understand the power of that. Whereas these days, people are investing more and more to get better and better at these games and to better understand them. And therefore, it could be that there's just more people out there that are taking advantage of this than we've been seeing in previous years. So those are the reasons that I feel that we are seeing more complaints this time around with Black Ops 4 when it comes to strafing. I really do think time to kill is the biggest one of all of those. And as for my thoughts on this in general, do I think stock is overpowered or broken? I'm going to be honest, I don't really have a hardline stance on this. Strafing has always been a viable tactic in arcade-style first-person shooters, not just Call of Duty, but a wide variety of first-person shooters. Strafing has always been one of those effective tactics. And I'm totally fine with there being a somewhat unrealistic movement when it comes to using something like a stock, because I prefer fast-paced, arcade-style gameplay, and that's one of the reasons I play Call of Duty compared to some other shooters on the market that are designed to be a little bit more grounded in realism. And being able to strafe in a gunfight like that does contribute to that fast-paced feeling, and that feeling of not being held down and locked in position. So for a Call of Duty-style game, I'm totally fine with having that faster strafe speed, even if it is a little bit unrealistic. Having said that, I can also definitely sympathize with a lot of the complaints out there. I've run into those situations as well, where it just feels like your bullets are going straight through them, but then if I record that clip and I look at it in slow motion afterwards, I can see that I was legitimately just not able to hit them because they were wiggle strafing so fast. And that can be really frustrating. It can leave you feeling helpless when you're limited by a controller which has a small range of motion, and therefore tracking that target realistically without that aim assist being able to help you is practically impossible in some cases. So where I stand on this is I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to a little bit of a stock nerf in Black Ops 4, but at the same time, I don't really think it's too bad. I think some of the complaints are just coming from people that are straight up missing their shots in the first place, and they are looking for an excuse as to why they got outplayed. But some of the complaints are definitely valid. So this is where I just wanted to leave it with you guys. What do you guys think about the stock attachment in Black Ops 4 multiplayer and your ability to strafe really quickly in gunfights? Even though it's technically a little bit slower than most of the Call of Duty games that we've seen in the past, do you think it's a problem in Black Ops 4, and would you like to see that nerfed in this game? Additionally, looking forward to the next Call of Duty game, Modern Warfare, would you like to see an adjustment to this for a more realistic style gameplay where they slow that down a bit and you're more so locked in place once you're aimed down sight and you can't really strafe too much? Just let me know all those thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.